Hello and welcome to Nowhere. My name is Trish and I am the creator behind Nowhere Novelties. I've said before that design inspiration can come from pretty much anywhere. I get my nails done on a regular basis and I found a nail design on Pinterest that I thought was very easy to recreate on a cup. It is a gorgeous kind of 50-50 design with some pinstriping and just some white marble. This is transparent vinyl, of course, from Banff Custom Creations. And it actually has a very cool surprise element that I'll show you in the video. If you're ready, let's strap in and shoot for the stars. I am starting off with a 20-ounce skinny straight from Maker Flow Crafts, base painted white, to get my 50-50 lined up. I have this circle that I cut out from just regular printer paper. I put the cup down on the printer paper, traced a circle basically around the rim, and then cut out this circle and folded that circle in half, so I got the perfect 50-50. What I'm doing here is basically lining up those first two registration marks that I added to my lines on the cutting mat, and then kind of eyeballing the top registration marks. I will admit that they were not straight, but it's okay. It's a reference mark, okay? They do make tools that do this. I just do not have one. One day I will invest. So just get them as straight as you possibly can. And I did also put a nice crisp tape line at the very bottom to create the 50-50. Once I had the one side of the cup completely covered in masking tape, I spray painted half of the cup this gorgeous, I think it's called Blue Lagoon from Rustoleum. So that was going to be my blue side. Now the blue side is only going to get pinstriping. It doesn't get any glitter. I considered making it matte, but I did not go down that road. So once the spray paint was dry, I'm taking off the masking tape on the white side of the cup so that I can get ready to glitter. For the glitter application, I decided to just use Prime Time. I've talked about how it's not my favorite, but because I lost some of the spray paint down on the bottom of the tumbler, I needed a little bit of coverage there. So I got my Prime Time out and a makeup brush, and I added a coat of Prime Time to the white side of the tumbler. And I was going to go right in with this as my application for the glitter. I didn't add a layer of Mod Podge or anything. I went right in while the dry time was, or prime time, there we go. Prime time was still wet to apply my glitter. And y'all, we're not going to talk about how ratchet my paint line on this one side. Hold on, I'm about to show it here. I don't know what happened. I don't know. It was not a nice crispy line. So using this Prime Time actually helped. It did kind of smooth out some of the look. It was going to be okay though, because I knew it was getting pinstriping as well. So it was going to cover up some of that jaggedy edge. Like I said, I don't know what happened. So I'm using Polar Bear glitter from Glitter Heart Company. This is a really not very holographic. It's a pretty pure white. It does have a very, very slight rainbowy effect to it, but for the most part it's a very pure white. So I did epoxy over the glitter and painted side. So now I'm ready to go in with this transparent marble vinyl from Banff, of course. So I'm just determining how much of it I need on just the 50-50 side. I think it was about between 4.5 and 5 inches. So I cut that out the full 12-inch length, knowing it was going to be way too big, and then got an anchor point ready and applied this like you would, any full vinyl wrap, but you're only doing it to one side. So I wanted a lot of that, the like black veining lines. So I made sure I positioned the vinyl so it was, there was more of that on this portion of the cup. And of course, I'm trimming off the excess here off the bottom. And I'm going to use this very bottom piece for the actual bottom of the cup. So I kind of set that aside and then trimmed off our top piece. So there's a little bit of excess or waste with this design, but that's okay. So I took that little excess piece, lined up again that black veining so that it showed up on the white portion of the tumbler, and then started taking off my excess, getting it off the 50-50 side, and then trimming off around the bottom rim of the cup. Now I will quickly mention that I did 3 coats of epoxy over this vinyl and the UV resin that I end up applying for the veining that changes colors. I did have to sand down that bottom rim to make sure there wasn't like a really sharp edge because of how close I got that transparent vinyl to the edge. It almost had like a razor sharp edge. So I had to sand it down pretty well in between coats of epoxy. So just keep that in mind if you remake this design. So now I have like my favorite champagne textured vinyl from Tech Wrap. And I have some pinstripe lines cut out from my Cricut. And I am doing a like solid, like right on the line, a solid line all the way across, and down the center on the very bottom to actually split the 2 sides. And then to mimic the nail design that I saw, it had like parallel lines. And so I wanted to add that to the white marble side. So I added like a parallel line here vertically. And then on the blue side, I'm adding some horizontal lines. And I did 2 at the top and just 1 at the bottom. I liked like the asymmetry of the nail design that I found on Pinterest, and that's kind of where I got this inspiration for adding in like the parallel lines on one side and just the single line on the other. So that's kind of where I was going with this. Wanted like, just something a little different, not your standard pinstriping. So I did throw a light coat of epoxy or a thin coat of epoxy over the pinstripes just to make sure they were like, nailed down. And then we're getting into the fun part. So these are photochromatic pigments. They start white, and then if you put UV light or sunlight on them, look at how cool this is. They change colors. I got this whole pack of all kinds of different colors on Amazon. I will have it linked. And so now we're going to be throwing in some lines, some veining with this UV resin. I decided to go with UV resin over like trying to do a Milky Way effect because I wanted to have a lot more control over where the veins went. So I got the pigment powder mixed into my UV resin and started laying down like my vein with a popsicle stick, cured that piece, made sure I liked the way it looked, and that's kind of how I added the veining to this side. I really wanted a lot of control. I didn't know if it would look good to mix up some of this pigment powder into regular epoxy and kind of almost Milky Way with like finger paint it on. I didn't know if it would have the same effect. And you guys know how fluid resin moves, I didn't want to run any risk of there being the UV powder or the pigment powder where I didn't want it. I wanted true like marbling, veining. So the only way I could truly get that was to use UV resin and make sure it was exactly where I wanted, cured exactly where I wanted it. So I'm just adding the last of the lines with the pigment powder. And then this cup was finished. Over the UV resin, I added 2 layers because it creates a little bit of texture because the UV resin is like raised up a little bit. So I added 2 coats of regular 2-part epoxy over this, and the cup was done. I love the way it turned out, and it has a really cool surprise effect with the UV pigment. If you love this tutorial, like and follow for more. I will see y'all next time. Bye now.